Hello dear students, this is your Professor Lázaro Pino, and now we are studying the valence shell electron pair repulsion theory, known as Vsepr. The valence shell electron pair repulsion theory established that is a molecular model to predict the geometry of the atoms making up a molecule, where the electrostatic forces between a molecule's valence electrons are minimized around a central atom. It could be planar, triangular, tetrahedral, trigonal bipyramidal, or octahedral. We are going to study the linear one, the trigonal planar, and the bent one in this case. As you can see, in the linear geometry, we have three atoms, the central atom and two that are around this one, but they are bonded in a line. This is the form of the molecule, a line. That's what we call the geometry of the molecule linear. And the angle of bond is 180. In the case of the trigonal planar, we have that the form of the molecule is a triangle. In the center of this triangle, we have the central atom, and then the three ones in the angles of the triangle. The bonded angle is 120. In the case of bent and the molecule is a triangle, then in this case we have a pair of electrons that are not shared. Then these are lone pairs. Even though we have three electrons around, three groups of electrons around the central atom, one group is not shared, is lone pair. In the case of tetrahedron, the molecule, as in this case, it could be a tetrahedral, pyramidal, or bent according with the number of non-lone pairs. In this case is pyramidal because even though we have four electrons groups around the central atom, one group is non-lone pair. And in the case of this molecule is bent because we have two groups of non-pair electrons or lone pairs electrons. Then even though we have four groups of electrons around the central atom, two pairs are lone pairs. Let's study the case of a carbon dioxide molecule. This is the Lewis structure that we studied before. As we see here in this molecule, we have two groups of electrons around the central atom and no lone pairs. That's why we say that the molecule is linear. The angle of the bond is 180 degrees. And since the electronegativity of carbon is 2.5 and the electronegative of oxygen is 3.5, you represent a dipole from the carbon to oxygen by means of this arrow, and the same thing for the other bond. Since the molecule is linear, both dipoles are in the same line, but they are in opposite directions. Since they are equal, they cancel out, and the molecule is non-polar. Then the shape of the molecule is very important in order to analyze if the molecule is polar or non-polar. In the case of beryllium chloride and boron chloride, we have here the two forms of the molecule. And remember that this molecule is linear because the electrons try to be apart one from the others in order to minimize the repulsion between atoms. Between electrons. In this case, the best form for boron trichloride is better to represent the atoms of chlorine in the edges of a triangle. In this case, the form of the molecule is trigonal, and everything is in a plane. The angle of bond is 180. For the ammonia molecule, we have that the nitrogen is the central atom and has a lone pair of electrons and 3 groups of pair electrons. Then they are as much as 4 groups of electrons around the nitrogen and 1 lone pair. Then the shape of the molecule is trigonal pyramidal. The molecules that has this structure are the ones that you can observe here down. For carbon and 4 atoms of hydrogen, the best representation is a tetrahedron. And as we have 4 groups of electrons around the carbon and no lone pairs, we say that the structure of the molecule is tetrahedral. In the case of water, it's also tetrahedral, but since we have 2 lone pairs of electrons, the molecule is bent, and the angle of bond is 14.4 degrees. Well, this is all for this part.